Jurassic Park, 1 minute time. I'm Brad,
I'm Dave.
and today we're here to discuss minute 40 of The Lost World. Dave, how you been?
Good, good. I can't believe we're on minute 40 already.
Yeah, we're flying along. It's good.
Yeah, we are.
It's good. Not a lot to add pre-game this week. Not much news coming out. There's been a bit of news out of Hawaii with one of the bunker type sets we've seen in filming.
Yeah. Bunker has been revealed
As a gyrosphere maintenance shed.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's not something I'd describe as a shed, but then again, I suppose the maintenance shed in Jurassic Park wasn't really that as well as sort of a bunker type structure.
Yeah. It also begs the question, I mean, that's kind of a small shed, so does it go partially underground? How many gyrospheres do they have? I always imagined they had like 20 of them, and it doesn't look like it could fit any more than 4 or less than that in that shed.
Yeah, well, I get it as maintenance, but yeah, definitely not storage. And because it's on a concrete foundation as well. Now, I'm pretty sure the set was dressed and there was sort of dirt around it when it was filmed, but sort of it's like where the gyrospheres come up to the gyrosphere station to get it out. It's on a purposely built trackway for it to roll on, so that glass bubble's not getting damaged. Because you start rolling that thing across concrete or gravel, and it's going to start getting chipped and scruffed up a bit. But my biggest thing about it was, especially when we've seen it before and before we realised what it was, is the big heavy iron doors that are on it. Seem a bit overkill for just a garage or a shed. Unless it's sort of out in the park area, not sort of in the amenities or in the visitor section, but then it sort of makes you wonder, well, someone's got to drive out to it and work there, or sit there if the door's open and work on gyrospheres while the park's active or something. Why couldn't you put some visitors in these for safety? That's why I was hoping they'll actually Jurassic Park architecture and design, so no, we can't use them because they're old, they're not going to hold up to their IREX effort attacks or something like that. It's sort of a little bit of an adding more stuff to Jurassic World that we didn't see in the film, but sort of not explaining that much, but we will see in under a year's time now. It's ticking along nicely.
Yeah, it is.
Compy's been presumed to be scavengers, like jackals.
Gives me the creeps. It's like it's not scared.
There haven't been any visitors to this island. There's no reason for it to fear man.
Now it does.
Alright, Dave, if you're ready, we'll get into minute 40.
Yeah, let's go.
Alright.
As we enter minute 39 of Lost World, Robert Burke and Dita Stark were looking at a curious compy that had come in beside them. Burke was saying that there's been no man on the island, which is why the compy doesn't appear to fear anyone. At 39 minutes and 3 seconds, Dita brings a shock pod down to the small creature's head and touches it. A large blue arc and sparks shoot out, and the compy scatters off, yiping like a dog. Dita replies, now it does. At 39 minutes and 10 seconds, we cut to a dark jungle path. Dead animal carcasses litter the sides. Roland and Ajay have found the Rex nest. At 39 minutes and 30 seconds, we get a reveal of the Rex nest and a baby T-Rex inside, gnawing on a dead carcass. As we get a howling wind and the buzzing of flies, Roland tells Ajay the infant can only be a couple of weeks old and has probably never left the nest. At 39 minutes and 52 seconds, after Ajay asks Roland if they should set up a blind here, Roland says no, the nest's upwind and so are we. The trick is to get him to come to where we want him. The nest's upwind and so are we. When he comes back, he's going to know we're here before we even have a chance. And as the two men are overcome by CG flies, minute 40 comes to an end.
So we get straight into Burke here after the previous minute. Dita was asking him, or telling him it's creepy, it's like he's not even scared, and Burke here, there's been no visits to the island, there's no reason for it to fear man, which is a good point.
Actually, yeah, but there has been visitors to the island, and they found that man is an easy meal.
Yeah, well that's it, they've tasted flesh now, so...
Yeah.
But then, yeah, Dita gives it a direct shock to the head, and it goes scampering away, yiping or yelping like a dog, injured or a wounded animal anyway. That thing throws out a big blue spark, like a big arc when it zaps.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder that they probably would have had some sort of stand-in with a metal rod going through it or something, just so it could earth out and get those sparks, because it's hard to do that practically without actually using a electric prod.
Yeah.
But that's way overpowered too. You don't sort of get arcing like that with a standard cattle prod.
No, I've always kind of considered that this was kind of maybe specially built for him or by him, or it was like a special prod used for like really, really large animals, like maybe an elephant or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, that's it. They know. He'd obviously know before he gets to the island exactly what they're going there for, and sort of looking at weapons that can handle larger animals with thicker hides, like we were saying with the Pachycephalosaurus when it was getting captured, sort of using those large tranquilizer darts, the same sort we see later with the T-Rex, just needing sort of a large dart like that to be able to get through an animal's hide, more so than delivering that much sort of tranquilizer. But there's another thing from the script as well. When the para goes down, there's actually a vet. They've got a vet with them. And later on, when we get to the T-Rex, it actually stops breathing, and Ludlow starts panicking because the vet died in the ambush with the T-Rex, and they don't know what to give it to, sort of get its heart going again, because Roland put 2 darts into it. But it's just interesting. Now it took 1, but I suppose they weren't expecting to be attacked at all.
No.
But we cut to Roland and Ajay walking down a path. Flies everywhere, and again, sound design. Just the flies, you can hear them. They're climbing all over you. Even though I'm assuming that most of it's CG.
They were all CG, actually.
Yeah.
Pete Postlethwaite, a funny story, in the making of, it's mentioned that Pete Postlethwaite was asked by Spielberg to swat in front of his face, and Postlethwaite is like, "What? Why? This sounds stupid." And then Spielberg replies, he says that we're going to CGI some flies in, and it's going to look silly if you don't.
Yep. But then, like a big game hunter like him, you could assume he's camped out or set up blinds on carcasses before, and sort of flies crawling over his face isn't really a concern when he's got a predator downwind.
Yeah, he's probably used to it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a good little effect here. Spotting the flies now. They walk past a sort of a partially eaten Parasaurolophus, which is a nice big physical prop, but something used from an earlier deleted scene.
Yeah, it was originally designed and built for the opening of The Lost World, where a Japanese fishing trawler was going to haul in a dead Parasaurolophus carcass, and that was going to set the events into motion. Was these aberrant forms that was borrowed from the novel. But they ended up not doing that, and so they kind of just stuck it here in the Rex nest. And then you can also see it again in the Raptor's kind of little valley of death later on in the movie when they slipped down that hill.
Yeah, it's interesting where this whole concept for having the fishing boat comes in, because it's not in the pre-San Diego script, and it's not in the later shooting script, so there must be something in between where they must have been pretty keen to actually do it, because they built this prop that was going to be pulled from the ocean in a fishing net, which I reckon sort of would have suited the movie a lot more than what we got in the novel, because in the novel it's sort of Costa Rica trying to keep it quiet for the tourism and that, where, again, like we've brought up before, Costa Rica sort of isn't anywhere near these films, where they're sort of the local government. They're the ones that would be sort of patrolling the area. It's their waters. And later on, when we see in Jurassic Park 3 where it's all quarantined off, I'd assume it's the Costa Rican National Guard or the army that's actually doing that, not the US military, because they'd have no.
In the Jurassic Park 3, they mentioned that it's I think at the end of the Lost World, Hammond says he wants to bring in the Costa Rican National Preserves or Biological Preserves or something like that.
Yeah.
We already have to look back at the quote that Hammond says. But in Jurassic Park 3, it's the United Nations that's handling sanctions on the island.
Yeah, that's it, and we'll get there, of course, at the end. But yeah, it's just all of a sudden now you bring up the Costa Rican Department of Biological Preserves to set up a set of rules and establish the island as a protected area. And it all comes down to the lease, what's what, because technically, InGen would still hold the lease for Nublar and Sauna, but then if Costa Rica discover that, oh, you've been doing this there, leases can be cancelled and everything else, especially with InGen at Chapter 11, they've got no money to sort of keep the lease up. It's easy for Costa Rica to say, nah, this is a hazard, we're just going to go in and bomb it like they do in the first novel. And it's just sort of interesting that idea hasn't been brought up before in the films. It's just, oh yeah, America, you come here and do what you want in our backyard and we'll let you.
Yeah.
But we also get a weird sort of, I don't think it's a score, it's more of a sound effect of wind howling.
Yeah, it is. That was, they used it a couple places in this movie. It was a recording of a walrus, like, howling or something like that. It was...
Oh, okay.
They mentioned in the making of featurettes on the DVD that they recorded this walrus howling, and it was kind of just like, like howling and whistling and something like that. And they were getting flecks of fish thrown in their faces. They're recording this walrus whistling.
Oh.
And so, yeah, they place it in here to give it kind of that spooky effect, and you can also hear it in the background when Ian and Sarah are conversing in the redwoods. There's a background. They place it into the background a little bit quieter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think it's meant to be wind howling through this grotto here. In the scripts, both of the scripts, it's actually more of a cave, but we never really see the full set here that they built, so we don't really know how the extensive the set was, because the Lost World really went extensive with their sets, and all of them really, and so there's really not any good behind the scenes footage of this scene from the scene, so I don't know how big this set is. I don't know if it's actually a full cave or just like a little grotto on the edge of some cliffs.
Yeah, well, it'd have to be large because you got two adult tyrannosaurs needing to come and go and move around. Because we get Roland and Ajay to sort of just come up over a little rocky outcrop to reveal the Rex nest. There's some dead carcasses in there, and the baby ripping some flesh off a fallen prey, and it's sort of, it's really dark. You got sort of that shaft of light coming down on the baby, which is your only real light source for the area. Even when we get a reverse shot here of the two guys standing looking down at the baby, it's sort of the only light behind them is coming down, it looks like, from a tunnel, like they're already in the cave. But
but in the scripts there, this whole full cave system, complete with stalactites and stalagmites and all the other trimmings that go with a cave.
And it's probably a nitpick, but if that is if it is supposed to be in a cave, how did the satellite infrareds pick up the Rex nest? How'd they know where it was?
That's a good point.
I suppose even you got to wonder if the canopy's really thick foliage. Even that would sort of throw off the infrareds as well a little bit. But no, we get the reveal of the baby Rex here again, full animatronic. I don't think we see it. There's only one shot of it in CG, and that's at the very end, where it takes down Ludlow. But doing its best here as a animatronic to interact with a piece of flesh. we get Roland, infant's probably only a couple of weeks old, never left the nest. Well, we've seen footprints out near the game trail. Again, I'd just love to see it out there watching its parents hunt. Bring down a trike or a stegosaur. But offspring that young, parents won't leave it alone for too long.
But that would kind of lend to the idea that it has left the nest and that Roland doesn't just realize it, because I'm sure he doesn't know how big a baby T-Rex is, and that is much larger than a couple of weeks old. I mean, I have to say it's at least a month or more, or at least 2 months or more old, because he's walking. He's like about 6 foot long by now, and that's way bigger than your average hatchling, you know?
Yeah, because I think the Rex eggs in the Lost World novel are described, I think they're a bit larger than footballs, about a foot in diameter.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a bit of growing between that and what we got here. Again, there's no eggs or baby sizes to compare to in the film universe, but it's sort of a rough guide we can go off.
Actually, for Jurassic Park 3, and I don't know if this is just because the prop designer or whoever just really didn't like T-Rex, but there is a hatchling T-Rex prop that they made for the Pteranodon nest. And so you can't really see it in the film, but you can see it in behind the scenes and making of stuff.
Oh.
And it's not that big. I'd have to say it's 1.5 feet long, or probably less than that. And so it's much smaller than the baby T-Rex that we see here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, again, asks the question if they're really contained in that aviary or not.
That hatchling T-Rex would be wandering into the aviary, you know?
Yeah. Yep, that's possible. But I suppose it's also too, like, he's describing the infant to us and to RJ. Like, if you're gonna say, yeah, an infant's young, it probably hasn't left the nest before. Well, it's just sort of describing how young it is. He's not going to say it's a young. It's probably only left the nest once or twice. But yeah, both parents aren't here. We don't know where they are. It sort of makes you wonder how far off the game trail are we? Did they hear the noises of the animals sort of bellowing and that after being chased by the vehicles, but then you'd think that'd attract it to them and not scare them away.
Well, there's also the idea that they walked here, you know, so it's not too far. It couldn't be more than a mile or 3, you know?
Yeah, yep. Then, again, they're not really... They're still, as far as we know, they're still on the exterior of the island too, where all the predators are supposed to be in the interior, so...
Well, this also lends the idea that there's more than just this family of T-Rex on the island, because the thermal signatures from Hammond's map show a Tyrannosaurus thermal signature much closer to the interior, and so this, and I doubt they're walking like that far to get to the Rex nest.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and maybe they've seen this family, or these two Rexes, they just sort of have a real small territory here, and that's why they sort of aren't too worried about the game trail. They know they're there, but they don't really venture out to the game trail that often. Because again, if they know the T-Rex is there, then they're awfully blasé about hunting the animals right in their territory. You'd think it'd be one thing to stay clear, and we don't even know what they're there after. If they're there just there randomly to get animals, if they've got an actual shopping list. Because for all we know, Roland's there to kill the bull T-Rex. There's no capture involved at all, as far as we know. And it's just sort of unlucky for Roland and lucky for Ludlow how the film transpires at the end, that he gets a dart into him and not a slug.
Yeah.
But we get RJ, you want to set your blind here and wait for the father to return. Again, sort of RJ being more of this offside tracker, someone that's hunted with Roland a lot. And these last 2 minutes are really his introduction to the film. Because we didn't get that bar scene in Mimosa, but
No, didn't.
Harvey
Yeah.
Harvey Jason,
Mm-hmm.
he's been in a few things. He's a voice actor as well. Hasn't done a lot since The Lost World. A couple of Star Wars gigs with some games as his voice.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, Ajay is another character that kind of gets shoved to the side in this movie, and it's really unfortunate because in the scripts you learn a lot more about him, and so you kind of really learn to love this character in the script, and then he gets a really horrible death, and it's just really sad, and you feel for him. Being stuck in the long grass, and he just gives up.
yeah, and it's weird. Like here he is, he's helping Roland out. He's more than capable as a hunter himself, and as a sort of an offsider to Roland. And yeah, we get here he's sort of helping out. Then he disappears, and he's back again when they set their blind up and they got the baby captured, and then disappears. And then we get a couple of shots while they're walking or trekking through the island, and then that's it. It's just a weird. It's almost not worth having him in the scene at all. But
they kind of half-assed his disinclusion into the movie, and so when Roland says he's all depressed that his friend died, he's like, "Who's Ajay again?"
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, that's it. You'd think he'd be more upset that Dita dies.
Yeah, really.
Considering he's the one that's in charge when they're not there. Like, that's another friendship we don't know if it exists. Is it just that when they were recruiting the mercenaries or the hunters that they said, "Rightio, you've got military experience or something, you're in charge." None of that's flushed out at all, but
No.
which is a shame because he does some great stuff here.
Yeah.
And I've only sort of read up to this next bit where we get to the hunters' camp in both scripts, so it'd be interesting to go forward and see if he's actually got any more script-wise coming up and what was cut and what wasn't. But Roland, though, best be upwind. Oh, the nest's upwind and so are we. When he comes back, we'll know we're here without us even having a chance. And he gives another big swat at those flies, and it's sort of here where you get that reverse shot. You can really see those CG flies. They went overboard.
Yeah, really. Well, I mean, the whole place must smell terribly. You know, I mean, you got all those rotting carcasses in various degrees of decomposition, just kind of like laying all over the place.
Yeah, I had to.
Large rotting carcass in the tropical sun smells bad. Imagine like 5 of them.
Yeah, yep. I had to take some rubbish down to the property yesterday, and we had two cows that have died down there, and they've sort of been dragged up into the fire heap as well, and just the smell. And it's been cool here. It's only sort of starting to go out of winter, but you can taste it. It's not just smell. It sort of gets down your throat.
Yeah.
And that's just sort of 2 cows that have been there for a week or so. But anyone that's sort of been to a zoo or anything and been up close to tigers or lions,
Yeah, they smell themselves. The stink kind of sticks to them, and that's something that I think Sarah Harding touches on in the novel, is that predators smell, and that she notices that even the herbivores smell like predators on the island.
yeah, just that smell of decay.
Yeah.
There's one good scene in the novel where Richard Levine, you can smell the raptors before he even sees them. You can smell them in the forest.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's exactly how it'd be too. Like, yes, maybe even like how much lions and tigers smell. That's in the zoo where they're having their teeth brushed and having sort of being upkept and cleaned and washed. Whereas you have a look at animals out in the wild. I remember even the lagoon scene in Jurassic Park in the novel where you got the baby or the juvenile T-Rex there, and he's sort of got flies buzzing around his head and same thing, bits of flesh hanging from his mouth that are sort of stuck between his teeth and that. Like, it sort of just adds to the world a lot more, adds to the realism of it.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing about the scene is you can actually see they made this prop skull for an Edmontosaurus, and that's like really the only evidence that we have of the animal having been on the island.
I was going to ask.
The skull of Edmontosaurus is kind of stuck behind the T-Rex animatronic there, the baby T-Rex animatronic in the corner.
I was going to ask because with the data sheets we looked at a couple of weeks ago, Edmontosaurus is in those data sheets. Now, whether that's fan ad because the skull's here or because they're not in the herd in the roundup, are they?
No.
There was no actual CG model for him done.
Every time I ever see any evidence for this animal being on Isla. And there's a video on YouTube I posted up on our Facebook. I might do it again and just point out all the little itty bitties that we get to see. Is that there's this thing called Behind the Screams. There's a Universal Studios exhibition of a bunch of props used in the first two movies, and so you can see it's a really nice, idyllic Edmontosaurus skull.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just shoved up there on the shelf like it was an afterthought.
Like so much in this movie that's just sort of, it's there but it's not there, like it's not prominent.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I've had these films on Blu-ray for a while, and I know you and some others have done sort of comparisons between the DVD or the Blu-ray and the VHS. How much it sort of clears it up. With Jurassic Park, yes, I love how it sort of makes it cleaner, shinier. It brightens the picture up a bit. Where The Lost World, I sort of love just the VHS grain. Even the DVD grain.
Yeah, really. When you watch The Lost World on VHS, it really brings out this whole other characterization to the film itself.
Yeah.
Where you can literally feel how the island is meant to be a character, how Janusz Kaminski turned the background into its own kind of dangerous animal, you know?
Yep.
And so the film is foggier, it's kind of darker, you can't see as much, and so it's just really great. It's just a really great more experience than it is on the Blu-ray, where even in the opening, on the VHS in the opening, you can't tell that there's these blue skies there. It just all looks cloudy and moody and depressing and gray. And you look at it in the Blu-ray, and then you can see bits of sun peeking through the clouds. It almost looks kind of like it could almost be paradise.
Mm. Yeah, and that's sort of one thing that'd be, because they done even the game with the 3D version for Jurassic Park for the 25th anniversary. They sort of changed around the colours again.
They did. Well, for the Blu-ray of Jurassic Park, they didn't use the original 35mm master, which didn't have this which wasn't grainy at all. You and I have both seen the original 35mm master. We were given it to us by a friend, and so you really see that this grain that's in the Blu-ray just isn't there. It's clean, it's crisp, it's beautiful, but when you look at the Blu-ray, I can't remember what master they used, but it wasn't the original 35mm. And so it just has this grain filter that they forgot to remove. They removed it in the Blu-ray, in the 3D release, but they didn't in the 2011 Blu-ray, and it just looks kind of bad, you know?
Yeah, yep. I couldn't imagine seeing The Lost World in 3D. I just don't think the atmosphere in that lends itself to having those glasses on.
It would be kind of cool. I'd give it a try. But yeah, this is a movie that's meant to be immersive, not it's meant to be a visually immersive kind of thing, not something that you watch to examine. If I was to watch this movie for an examination, I would use the Blu-ray clips. But if I want to watch this movie for the experience, I'd watch the VHS.
Yep. Yep. And it sort of make you wonder the like the vehicles in the herd during the roundup, and even the team hanging off the cliff later on with the RV, sort of what they'd do in 3D.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think that looked awesome in 3D.
Yeah, because I keep on hearing a lot of people, and this is going to date the podcast terribly, but a lot of people have seen Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming, are saying the sort of the 3D when he's on top of that Washington Monument really induces the fear of heights and vertigo. But then it's all shot at night too here, so how much would actually come through?
So much movie shot at night, you know? And that's something that was really lost after this movie, after Spielberg, was Spielberg really used the kind of darkness of the islands, the darkness of the shadows and the foliage, the darkness of night, to hide any kind of faults in the sets and faults in the animatronics. And so you get this kind of perfection that isn't really found in the other movies, because Jurassic Park 3 is kind of the opposite. It's the antithesis of The Lost World when it comes to lighting, because Jurassic Park 3, so much of the movie is filmed in daylight.
Yeah.
Versus The Lost World, where so much of it is filmed at night.
Yep.
And then Jurassic World continues what Jurassic Park 3 did, and there's like only one night scene in that entire movie, and that's the end.
Yeah.
And we don't really get a lot of Lost in the Jungle feelings from Jurassic World, so you don't really get the play of shadows, you don't get that kind of immersive feeling that you get from The Lost World.
And that's sort of one thing here with this Rex nest as well. Like, as you're saying, we don't know how big the set is. The way the two actors have walked in, they've come over a set of rocks down through a sort of a real narrow, dark tunnel of trees or foliage, and to come to this nest. It makes you wonder what it would actually look like if they turn the contrast up to 10, but or the brightness up, and you'd actually see, oh well, that's a styrofoam rock, and just having it dark like this sort of makes it eerie, hides a lot of the sort of production stuff, and it's quite effective.
Yeah, it is.
That was a good little ramble. Dave, anything else on minute 40 you'd like to bring up before we get out of here for the week?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of it.
Yep, rightio.
All right, guys, let's get the hell out of here.
Contact details are on the website, thelostworldminute.com. You can email feedback to thelostworldminute@gmail.com, Facebook, The Lost World Minute, Twitter @thelostworldminute, and Instagram, The Lost World Minute.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, yep, very easy to remember. David, thank you for joining me for this record.
You're welcome.
And we'll be back. I've been Brad.
I'm Dave.
And we'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
It is absolutely imperative that we work with the Costa Rican Department of Biological Preserves to establish a set of rules for the preservation and isolation of that island. These creatures require our absence to survive, not our help. And if we could only step aside and trust in nature, life